Hey everybody, welcome back. Hope everyone's having an awesome day. Today I have a really special set of speakers here. Now, in case you guys don't know, I've said this a lot of times, but I just want to say it. I only review products I love and get excited about. And today I have something really, really special, something I've never come across in my nearly 40 years of being in this hobby. Now, today I want to talk about the Pitt Giblin SuperWax Mini loudspeakers. These are self-powered. They use a Hypex and Core amp module. The bass drivers each have 250 watts from this module. So I think Pitt Giblin on their website says the total power here is 350 watts. Yes, these are self-powered speakers that have the built-in amplification as well as a built-in DAC, but I want to talk more on that in a bit. All right, let's take a little bit of a closer look at these. These are beautiful. These are probably the most beautiful speakers I've had in this room. They are made to an extremely high level. You have that 15-inch woofer, paper woofer right there. You have a 1-inch compression driver with this real cast bronze waveguide. On the side, you can see the beautiful cabinetry. These are made of solid birch wood, CNC machined, and then hand finished with the veneer of your choice. And the veneer quality here is just gorgeous. Let's look around the back. That's why I say these are like museum quality speakers. I have reviewed and heard speakers that I have never reviewed, quite a few self-powered speakers. The ones I brought here in reviews were like the Bucard A10s, there were a couple from Triangle, and I've heard a few others in this space. Up until now, the finest sounding and highest end that I've reviewed in here in the realm of a powered speaker was the Bucard A10. These are on a completely different universe level. It's in another stratosphere. And there's a reason I started this review by saying that these are very, very special. I'm going to tell you why that is the case. Now, first we take a look at these speakers. Now, we know that it has the built-in amplification, Class D Hypex amp modules, and they're very simple. Setting them up takes about 5-10 minutes. They ship with a couple of coax cables. One is really, really long, and this is the cable you connect each speaker together with. So you go on the output of one to the input of the other. There's two ways to attach a source to these. You can attach a digital streamer into the coax input, not a DAC, just a streamer. And you can also use the analog input if you want to plug in a turntable, but you will need a phono stage. There's no phono stage built into these speakers. So setting them up is really easy. There's no app. You don't have to download the Google app or use an app to set them up because these are not being run wirelessly. You physically hook them up with the coax cable, and I have them hooked up this way, and the cable's hidden behind my cabinet. Very, very easy. Once you do that and you plug in your input, in my case, it's the Niagara streamer going into the coax input, you turn on the right speaker, and then you turn on the left speaker. You cycle the power on and off with the remote control, and you're ready to go. So in my case, I'm using the Niagara streamer with it. All I have to do is open up Tidal Connect, Qobuz Connect, Spotify Connect, and I'm in business. So very, very easy to set up. There's nothing confusing at all about these. These ship in very tough wooden crates. They're pretty heavy. Now, I thought they were going to come freight. They ship and are made in Tasmania, all the way in Australia. And these two guys run Pitt Giblin, and they make some of the most coolest artistic speakers that I've seen. Now, I've seen some that are cool and artistic from other companies, but these are really, really cool. And in the realm of price, these are the most affordable. These are museum quality speakers. Museum quality speakers. The build, the design, the attention to detail is stunning. The horn, the waveguide for the horn driver is cast out of bronze. So these are bronze waveguides, and they look absolutely beautiful. And that is what helps these stick out. Now, I say they look absolutely beautiful, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Your thoughts may differ. I love the look of these. They kind of look like Eclipse Heresy 4. Now these kind of resemble Eclipse Heresy, but they are nothing like the Eclipse Heresy when it comes to build quality or performance. They sound nothing like Eclipse Heresy. So what do these sound like? Well, they sound very powerful. The bass is very powerful, as you would imagine, with a 15-inch woofer there. Now these are controlled by DSP. There's a remote control that is pretty small, and you can pick between 3 different listening modes. I think they have natural, live, and clean or clear, and each one sounds different. The live adds a little bit of a bass boost, and if you're listening, I'd say to live concerts, I love that mode. For jazz and jazz vocals, I prefer number 1, the natural, and that's what I usually was listening so far with these, the natural. But it's cool that you can kind of tune that sound with a button on the remote. Now, Pitt and Giblin do not make passive speakers. They only make powered speakers. And they asked me, I think it was the end of last year, it was a long time ago, I was asked if I wanted to review these speakers. Of course, I said yes, but it was just recently that they contacted me and said, we're going to send you a set of these. And I thought they were going to send their smaller flare speakers, which also look beautiful. But they sent the SuperWax Mini, and I'm glad they did because it really, really opened my mind and allowed myself to become more acceptive or allow myself to accept a self-powered speaker all-in-one, because this is on another level from any I've heard before. So unpacking them is pretty easy. They give you instructions. You take the crate, you put it down on the floor, you slide out the speaker. You then remove the styrofoam wrapping, the soft wrapping, and you set them up. They're easy to move and put in place. You kind of rock them around. They are heavy, so I just rock them. They have solid wooden feet on the bottom with felt pads on there as well, so you're not going to scratch your wooden floor if you have a wooden floor. So when I got them out of the box, when I saw them, I was just, whew, these are beautiful, and I was ready to hear them. And I really thought I would be disappointed in the sound. I thought they were going to sound a little hollow. I thought they were going to have a lot of that horn, the old school horn things, like a hollowed out sound. But anyway, I went I set them up. They synced up perfectly. I went to play a song, and lo and behold, the right horn was not working. There was no sound coming from it, and I was super bummed. But what I was hearing from that left speaker was, wow, the clarity, the spatialness, I could tell, and the bass was amazing from that one speaker. So I contacted Ross. I said, unfortunately, the right horn's not working. So he said, well, sometimes UPS jostles these around. And going back to UPS, I thought they were being shipped freight. My regular UPS brown truck driver came and said, hey, can I get your help to unload these? They're over 100 pounds each because the wooden crates had a lot of weight. So they came in under 2 weeks from Tasmania and were delivered on a regular brown UPS truck here. And Ross thought they got jiggled around in shipping, and he said that there could be a connector loose on the amp module. So he had me take out the amp board, which took about 10 minutes. There's 10 screws, not even 10 minutes. And we inspected the board, and there was, lo and behold, a loose connection from being jostled by UPS. I literally just snapped that back into place, screwed the amp module in, and we were in business. Everything was working. So I was ready to sit down and have a listen to some music. So I set them up where I usually set up my speakers. But first, I removed my reference system, which consists of those Icon 12 speakers. Right now, I have the Modrite preamp and amps in, the Nagra Streamer, and the Live Harmony DAC. Altogether, retail price, that's worth about $50,000 retail. Now, these speakers, the SuperWax Minis, are around 15,000 Australian. That comes out to 9,700 US dollars, but I believe it says on the website you have to pay shipping and tariffs. So I'm not sure exactly what the grand total shipping to the US is. These were demo models that they were shipped to me. So these were made in 2024. They were not brand new models. The price here is well under what my reference system is. So I expected maybe quite a step down in performance. I started by listening to some Jewel. And there's a song called Shape of My Heart. I'll do a little listening impression here. And this is not like a audiophile recording. And I've listened to it on my big system. And in my big system, it sounds luscious, warm. Her voice has kind of got some body to it. And the guitars is warmer. Now on these, I instantly heard an uptick in clarity. But it was the good variety of clarity. Her voice was uber realistic in the room, and the imaging was eerie. Jewel's voice was right there in the middle, and it was like, you know, a foot away from my head. And the guitar, instead of being warm, it was really crisp and detailed, but it wasn't bright. I don't want to say that these are bright. These are not bright at all. It was just present, live, right, in the room. And I knew something special was happening. So I put on some rock, metal, I put on bluegrass, I put on old school country, Loretta Lynn, Johnny Cash, Conway Twitty. I was listening to classical, I was listening to jazz. And when I got into some jazz, horns were just so realistic. I mean, I could have swore I was in a jazz club. Now, I've heard this realism before, but I was just like in disbelief that these self-powered speakers using Class D amplification were so magical. I wasn't expecting the imaging performance of these to be so holographic. I put on some instrumental guitar music, and again, immersive as all can be, super spatial, more so than my big reference system. I was trying to find a weakness or something that I didn't like, and there was one remote. It's kind of a cheap plastic thing. It's a HiPex remote, and so it controls the amp board in there. But I did talk with Ross from Pitt Giblin, and he said they're working on a box that will sit on top or near it and have all the controls that the remote has. So that's cool. So if you lose the remote or don't want to use it, that will be a future option from what I understand. But these remotes are like $12 online. You can buy them. So if you lose one, you can have a spare. Now, in order to operate these, you use the remote control. It comes with a remote control. And on this remote control, you have a power button, a mute button. There's arrows to change the input. And there's a mute button, and there's 4 buttons up top, F1, 2, 3, and 4. Of course, there's volume. Now, F1, 2, and 3 are DSP modes. The first one, I think, is natural, or neutral, natural. Second one is live, and the third one is clear or clean, something like that. So you do this from the remote control. And this is the weakness. Now, this is a little plastic, cheap feeling remote. And these are high-end museum quality speakers. The back of the speaker, you have a master power switch, and each speaker has to be plugged into the wall. I'm using my Puritan audio cables because I have a pair of 3-meter length cables. So you have a rocker switch on the back, but in regular use, you want to turn them off with the remote. And that way, when you turn them back on, all the settings are remembered and they're ready to rock and roll. So that was my one niggle with these, and it's the remote control. Other than that, these are absolutely remarkable. They deliver stunning bass. No one will be unhappy with the bass. You don't need a subwoofer. The mid-range is beautiful. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if this Waveguide made of bronze is doing something magical. I don't know if it's how they implemented it. I don't know, but it's very spatial, very holographic, and maybe it has something to do with the small box heresy type, design. They're angled up, so when you're sitting in the sweet spot, that goes right there to your ears, right? And these do like a bit of toe in, so I had them towed in and about right to my ears, and you could even toe them in a little more if you want more of that 3D effect. And a lot of times when you have speakers that do this, that bring all that holographics and the 3-dimensionality and the details coming out, and you hear they dissolve like vapors into the room. Usually these speakers are leaner, drier, and don't focus so much on the bass because the bass can muddy up that 3-dimensionality. Somehow here they're delivering this strong, powerful bass, but yet they're retaining all of that magical quality in the top end and the mid-range. So absolutely stunning speakers. This is one like I've never seen before in this room in regards to beauty and solidity of the build and the attention to detail. It's also one like I've never heard before in a powered speaker. And I've heard similar things in other speakers that were passive, but then you got to mess with all the synergy. You have to find the right amplifier, the right DAC, the right cables. Now these may sound expensive, you know, they're close to 10K or 10K US plus the fees, the shipping and all that you have to pay. But these will save someone looking for a high-end speaker. If you're looking for a high-end speaker and high-end sound, these are going to be more affordable in the long run because you don't need to find the right speaker cables, the right interconnects, the right amplifier, whether it's an integrated or separates with a preamp. You don't have to find the right DAC. It's all here, and it's all been optimized to sound amazing. Now, Pitt and Giblin make the Flare, the SuperWax Mini. They have one that's a mini version of this that's even smaller. They have some really big speakers that look amazing and very, very cool in design. And if those are anything, you know, I would imagine those are even a bigger version of this, a bigger version of this sound. And if you have a big room, wow, I could only imagine. But I believe this is without question. I've said it kind of before, you know, these future of hi-fi things, but this right here is truly, could be the future of hi-fi. Now, I know a lot of you guys, myself included, we like our separate boxes. We like to pick the electronics, right? And, you know, if electronics fail in an all-in-one, then you're stuck with a brick speaker. But this is what's cool about this one. If something in your amp module goes bad, and that's the only electronics here, 2 cables disconnected from the speaker, and you can then get a replacement board, right? And just snap it in yourself. You don't have to take it to a technician. Very simple to do. Basically 2 plugs, put it back in, put the 10 screws in, and again, you're back in business. So these are easily repairable by anyone at home. If you had a warranty problem with a bad board, Pitt and Giblin would send you out a new board, and you just unscrew it, plug it in, and you're ready to rock and roll again. Now, I'm going to get to some listening impressions and what these are really, really good at. I was listening to a lot of rock and metal on these because, holy wow, these can play loud. And when they play loud, they stay clean. They have the same sound signature. They don't get muddled or confused. Notes don't merge into each other. They stay separated. And I was feeling my arms on my recliner starting to vibrate when I was listening to some music. I was listening to Lindemann Live in Moscow. Now that's a crazy album. I discovered it for the first time last year, but Skills and Pills, I put that on and I was just rocking my heart out in here. I had it turned up and, you know, everything was like, the room was filled with music. It was like I was at the concert in Moscow. And when the chorus came on, it was just, whew, filled out, and it was super immersed. I just felt like I was there. So then I put on some bluegrass. I put on a Dolly Parton CD from a long time ago called Halos and Horns. And I was listening to a song called John Daniel. And that song has a lot of instruments in there. And sometimes when I hear that song, it sounds flat and lifeless. Sometimes the instruments are muddled together and there's no depth. But on the SuperWax Minis, every instrument was separated and clean and clear, and Dolly's voice was coming right out into the middle. Another song on that album, These Old Bones, where she impersonates an old witchy woman. Kind of a weird song, but everything is just beautifully separated. And it sounded like Dolly was here singing in the room. And that's one thing that these do. They give you a live feel, a real feel. Very, very cool. I threw on, what else did I listen to? Michael Bublé. There's a song called Stardust, and it's a really beautiful song. And it's kind of warm, and you hear the background singer start, and they're in the left and right. And when Bublé comes in, his voice is very rich and very present on most systems. But here, It had that extra layer of clarity and realism. And again, he was coming out into the room like he was standing there singing while these background singers were behind him, and they were big and full, and everything was spatial. So now I was listening with a combination of Qobuz Connect, Tidal Connect, and Spotify Connect. You've heard me talk about Spotify, but to get that magical sound from Spotify on a high-end system, you have to pay for the premium service. I'm not talking about streaming Bluetooth, which would sound awful. Streaming Bluetooth with the free Spotify sounds compressed. It sounds awful, muddled. But when you pay for Spotify, and it's the most affordable of the three, you get Spotify Premium, and then you can set it to high quality, and then you use Spotify Connect. So using Spotify Connect, Tidal Connect, Qobuz Connect, they all sounded equally as amazing. I didn't have a preference for one or the other. So then I put on a song by Noah Kahan called Orange Juice. Now this is a Spotify exclusive version of this song. I believe he sang it live in a studio. And wow, that is a heart-touching song on the SuperWax Minis. It's just so present, and you start to emotionally connect to the music. And that's one thing that these really, really do well. You can connect with the music on an emotional level. And that's when that happens, that's when I give a system, whatever it is, a product, an audio, my highest marks. Because to me, it's all about the music. It's not about dissecting it. It's not about everything being perfect. It's not about, ooh, I heard that sound, but it was a little bit farther back than, no, just enjoy the music. Let it soak in. And that's what I do when I listen. And listening to Orange Juice, that Spotify single, was just spooky good. It was really, really amazing. I think I have a sound demo of that in the members area right now. So if you want to hear these in action, the members area here at my channel, it's $5. So the music, whether I was listening to rock, metal, Rammstein, I put on Deutschland. Oh, when that kicks in the beginning, you know, you have the da-da-da-da-da, and then when the guitars kick in, it's woo. And then when the drums kick in and it takes it up a level, again, like I was at a concert. It was rather amazing. I threw on a childhood favorite from Tidal Connect, Kiss Alive 2, and Calling Dr. Love. And again, I never heard this album from 1978 sound so dang good. It was just, I had memories of going back to when I was a kid listening to this album, but now I'm able to hear it in such amazing I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. So yeah, the Pitt Giblin SuperWax Minis are the most remarkable powered speakers I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, Pitt Giblin, amazing company, built in Tasmania, small batch speaker company, bespoke. You can pick the baffle colors. There's a moss green, there's a black. You can choose the different types of wood, all on their website. And I urge you guys to go check out their website. They have all of the photos. They talk about what they do. And if you're local to them, they have a location where you can go hang out and listen. If you go to my website, I have an article there, Why I Will Never Do Negative Reviews. I only talk about things I love, things that I think bring good value, or things that are just all out magical, beautiful, and amazing. And this fits in that category. 100% honesty. I'm not getting paid to do this review. I didn't make a cent to do this review. I have to, unfortunately, send these back as much as I love them. They've touched my heart and soul. So yeah, check out the links below. It'll go to the Pitt Giblin website. And I thank you all for watching. I thank you all for listening. I thank you all for the thumbs ups and the subscribe. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. I will see you guys really soon in the next one.